Returning to one of our top stories now and a look at the housing market here in Ottawa. As we told you earlier, the cost of buying a home almost anywhere in Ontario is soaring. Well, HouseSigma is an app that tries to provide buyers and sellers with as much information as possible to help navigate the challenging market. Michael Carney is the Director of Business Development at HouseSigma, and he joins us now. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Robyn. Thank you for having me.
I understand the team there released a report on housing in Ottawa specifically. Can you just tell me what the highlights were?
Absolutely. Yeah, we saw significant price growth during the pandemic. We took a look at the average year-over-year price change for single-family homes, and we separated Ottawa into 10 distinct neighborhoods and tried to determine where the most significant price increase was. And what we found, to perhaps nobody's great surprise, is there was significant growth in the suburban areas like Stittsville and Canada, while the downtown core was not experiencing nearly the same level of growth.
And what kind of growth are we talking about? Like how much are prices up?
Well, we were looking specifically at a number of different metrics, but the one that was kind of the key finding in our report was the median year-over-year price for single-family homes. And the results were quite staggering. We saw in areas like Stittsville and Canada an increase of over 20% year-over-year from January 2020 to January 2021.
Wow. And so what's driving up those prices in the suburbs then?
It's really changing kind of demand. The pandemic really changed a lot of people's priorities when it came to housing. We saw actually a lot of people coming from different markets like Toronto looking to move into Ottawa where their dollar went a little bit further. And just speaking to our realtors, our boots on the ground, we started to see a lot more people looking at more space. With people working from home and not necessarily having to be as close to the office, a lot of people found, I think it was difficult to work from home in a confined condo, especially if there's kids in the picture. So we saw a lot of single family homes and townhomes being the big kind of driving demand, particularly properties with deck backyards as well as finished basements.
Right. Working from your car doesn't necessarily give you the same kind of focus as an office in a basement.
Certainly not. And particularly if you're dealing with two people working from home and kids, that's very, very challenging dealing with working in a condo.
And do you think that the proposed changes announced today from the Ford government will have an impact on these prices? What are your thoughts on that?
I do. And we can kind of look at 2017 when the Wynne government introduced similar legislation. In 2017, the Wynne government introduced the non-resident homebuyers tax for the Golden Horseshoe at 15%, as well as increased rent control. Previously, rent control was not subject to properties that were built after 1991. That was extended in 2017. And we did see an immediate change in the kind of marketplace. We did see certainly a softening of the market and more power on behalf of the buyers. However, I will say that was not a long-standing change. It was really kind of a blip or a hiccup, and prices really did start to increase again after about a 3-month period.
Okay, and so what do you think it is about these changes that might make a difference in the long run then? You talked a little bit about the missing middle a little earlier.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Frankly, I'm not super confident in the changes proposed that are affecting demand. However, I am pleased with the proposed legislation that will be addressing supply. I think most industry professionals would agree that supply is kind of the main issue. And as long as we have increasing demand and limited supply, prices are going to continue to go up. It's simple economics. But yes, we have a clear affordability issue in this province. When you took a look at some of the reports that were generated over the past 3 months, we started to see that Ontario was the worst of all provinces in regards to houses per capita, and Canada was the worst in all G7 countries with the same index. So Ontario certainly does have a need for more supply. So this proposal to generate 1.5 million homes over the next 10 years is certainly a step in the right direction. Mm-hmm.
I know you're a data guy, so from looking at all of this data that you do have, where would you say the market is heading?
Well, frankly, we're starting to see the market change already, even before today's kind of news. There was a lot of speculation that new legislation was going to be coming on, particularly targeting reducing pricing and reducing the activity in the housing market. But more so, the perception that interest rates were going up sparked urgency on behalf of a lot of buyers. I think a lot of buyers who were kind of sitting on the sidelines during the pandemic became aware that they're expecting 4 rate increases, potentially more over the course of 2022. And that really sparked a lot of people to get into the housing market now before those interest rates changed. So from January and February, we saw a significant seller's market where sellers had a lot of the power, where buyers were going into bidding into properties with multiple bids, with sometimes in cases of 30, 40, 50 bids. But we've actually started to see that change over the past month. Now, of course, the March numbers are still coming in, but we are starting to see more and more listings being terminated. Very common in Ontario. It's a common practice for realtors to list a home under the market value in the hopes of attracting a lot of potential bidders, generating a bidding war and selling significantly over value. That's unfortunately unfortunately for sellers, but perhaps not for buyers. That has started to become less effective in the month of March, where we started to see more and more properties being terminated, where they were not able to successfully sell. The listing is then terminated and then re-uploaded at a lower price to try to get more people in. So I think we're starting to see already a softening of the market. I think buyers, the urgency that we were seeing in January and February started to subside. And I think a lot of buyer fatigue has kind of entered into the marketplace, where some buyers are simply getting out of the market or no longer competing in the market. So we're starting to see that shift already, even before this legislation was announced this week.
All right, interesting stuff. Thanks for this.
My pleasure.
Michael Carney is the Director of Business Development at HouseSigma.